Ready? All right, good morning, everyone. It's 7 a.m. on Wednesday, June 28th, and we'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council Committee of the Whole to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. Here.
And we have a quorum. First item of business this morning is a discussion on City Project 5959, parking recommendations. We'll call on our City Engineer, Brian Yvarro. Good morning, Brian.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor, and council members. As you know, last meeting, we request authorization to advertise for Stanton Avenue reconstruction project from Broadway to Union Avenue. As I noted in that memo, it's still under review from state aid. Portion of this project, I have an exhibit on the screen right now showing Stanton Avenue from Vine Street to Union. The local road authorities, such as the city, can establish diagonal parking. However, to meet state aid rules 8820, the city has to pass 2 resolutions, which is requested action. These resolutions are established between the city and the state. As if we refer to the exhibit right now, this is Stanton Avenue from Vine Street to Union. As noted, the current configuration is parallel parking on both sides. On the south side of Stanton, we're proposing diagonal parking, and on the north side, still parallel parking. However, to meet these standards, we're going to have to pass a resolution restricting parking, kind of boxed out in the area, pretty much on the northeast side, of Stanton Avenue, to allow for the diagonal parking on the south side. As I noted, parking is a concern. However, with restricting the parking on the north side and permitting diagonal parking on the south side of Stanton, if you take into account, it's not shown is a new approach to the flour mill site, just located on the bottom side of the screen. But with both these changes and everything, we're still estimating about a net of 4 additional parking spots within this block. So if acceptable, is what I'm requesting a resolution restricting parking on the north side of Stanton from Vine Street to Union Avenue. Also, the second is a resolution designating diagonal parking on the south side of Stanton from Vine Street to Union Avenue. So,
Thanks, Brian. And we can do this through a motion to bring this to the council on Monday night.
I can make that, Your Honor.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Scott. Questions for Brian?
What, I guess I have a question. Was there a request for that, Brian? As far as that parallel restricted parking, what would that be for?
well, this is a requirement by the state.
Oh, okay.
Because this is a state aid route, we have to apply by 8820 statute rules. So upon this review with D4, this is what they informed us, one of the requirements before they'll grant final clearance.
Was that like for handicap parking then over there?
That particular area right there, I think that was just standard parallel parking. I don't think there's a designated. However, with Stanton Avenue, we either it's going to be Stanton Avenue, we will be looking at having a handicapped ADA stalls there, or the parking lot that's to be improved here in the future, the development of the flour mill, and another agenda item at this meeting here. So.
I guess the term, it says restricted. What is it restricted to?
No parking.
Okay, so no parking at all, okay.
Any other questions? We have a motion to bring this to the council Monday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next item up for discussion is the Aquatic Center project presentation. Again, Brian Yarrow.
Yes, thank you. For the past few months, multiple city staff members, along with community volunteers, have been working with JLG Architects and their subconsultants during the final design phase for the new Aquatic Center. JLG has substantially completed the project plans and specifications, so we're here today to request advertisement for bids. A representative, I'll turn it over to him momentarily, from JLG, will give you a PowerPoint presentation of the project as currently proposed. Please note we're at 95%. We have a few minor changes, but we believe it's in presentable form at this time. The estimated cost for the base bid work items is $8.2 million. There are alternates that we're proposing for an additional $830,000. So a total combined construction contract is estimated at $9,108,000. That's including all alternates. Because of this, we must have publicly advertised for bids for a minimum 21 day. We haven't set the actual bid opening date yet. However, we anticipate opening bids here in late July. Prices, if favorable prices are received, a recommendation will be brought back to this council with also recommendations with the corresponding alternates that will be presented here in a moment. As noted in the past, this project is the local option sales tax, publicly financed project bonds, is a current funding mechanism. Presently, the city has legislative authority for a $10.8 million project. So at this time, I'll just turn it over to Adam. He'll walk you through some of the project exhibits right now.
Thanks, Brian. Welcome, Adam.
Good morning. Adam Barnett with JLG Architects. Yes, I'm here to talk about the Roosevelt Pool Project, which started as the Fergus Falls Aquatics Project, now calling it the Roosevelt Park Pool Project. You can see the site plan, kind of the area plan up on the screen right now, giving you an idea of how the project will sit in Roosevelt Park. Ultimately, the building and the pool itself were sited such to minimize the impact to the trees. As you can see in this view with it superimposed, there's still a lot of trees out there, so we did everything we could to be respectful and also trying to work with the unique grade at that site. If anybody's been out there, it's very kind of a crown site with some hills that roll off to the south there. But yeah, access to this site will be off of Randolph Avenue and North Burlington Avenue there to the east. If you want to go to the next one, kind of get a little more detail here. So this is the plan, again, a little bit larger scale. Starting on the right is the parking lot. We've got parking stalls for, I think we landed at 28, 30 parking, off-street parking in the lot itself, with some additional overflow parking from the school to the north. And we're doing some improvements in terms of sidewalk connections and what have you to make that connection more accessible and easier to utilize. And then working from right to left, the large rectangle to the right is the bathhouse. You kind of see three smaller rectangles. We're looking down on the roof. Those are what we're calling light monitors, where we kind of pop the roof up a little bit to bring some daylight down into the locker room spaces. And then the two rectangles that are kind of striped, if you will, those are canopies on either side, the front of the building and the pool deck side of the building, to offer some shading for folks as there maybe kids waiting to get picked up by their parents, or on the pool deck side, shading over lockers, over the concession stand window and that sort of thing. Working to the left again, then we get into the pool deck area. You can see we've got two pool vessels. The larger one, kind of right in the middle of the drawing, that's got kind of that radius corner. That is a zero depth entry pool. So it's basically a pool that emulates a beach. So it goes from zero depth of water down to a depth of 42 inches. And all those kind of little things you see there, those are all amenities for kids to play with on this pool. Number 5, kind of the larger one in the bottom left corner of that pool, is a really neat kind of jungle gym structure that has a couple slides and it'll spray water. There's a large bucket that dumps water and that sort of thing. And then the other ones are kind of various spraying pumps and that sort of thing for various ages of children. We do have a water table included for the real little kids. And there's also kind of a toddler slide that's going to have an otter theme to match the community. And then kind of to the upper left of that pool, you'll see 2 water slides in the project right now. So a tower, and then we've got 2 slides. And as Brian mentioned, we do have a number of items that are going to be bid as alternates. That is simply just a strategy to help control the budget on bid day, make sure that you guys have some options to pick and choose some things that could be added into the project if the numbers come in good. If the numbers aren't coming in quite so good, then maybe we're not taking all those alternates, but you guys still have a great project to move forward. So one of those slides on the bid is an alternate, but in the base bid does include the tower and one of those water slides. Moving to the left further, on the very end, west end of the pool deck, you'll see Another rectangle there, that is a 4-lane lap pool. So that pool goes from about 3.5 feet to a depth of 9 feet, which allows you to do some lifeguard trainings and things of that nature. There's no diving board. We do have a climbing wall in the project. If you've seen those, they kind of cantilever out over the water, and kids fall, they fall into the water. That is also under an alternate bid item. And then if you look kind of around the pool deck, you'll see we're suggesting, lounge chairs and some furniture, furnishings, things of that nature. The colored squares, the A2 tag, those are shade structures. One of the things that we hear in a lot of the pools we do is that there's never enough shading devices. So we've added some extra in here, if you will, that will be bid as alternates. So we'll get individual pricing on those. To see how they come back. And then there's also in the base bid a shade structure over that curved part of the zero depth entry pool. So if you got the really little kids in there, they can play in the water and still be covered out of the sun. A couple other notable things on this plan. On the very south end of the building, I think it's number 10 there, there's kind of an open area that we left for food trucks. So we could support up to 2 food trucks to come in and serve a little more than what you might be offering at the concessions. You know, if you're just serving hot dogs or that sort of thing, you have somebody come in and do something a little bit more unique. So wanted to accommodate that as well. Any questions on the site plan? Yeah.
As far as excuse me, as far as the food trucks go, are there going to be hookups for power and water?
Yes, great question. So we provided electrical hookups, and that was largely because a typical food truck will run on a generator, and we didn't want that noise of the generator that close to the pool deck for the patrons.
Sure.
So we are providing 2 electrical hookups.
Okay.
Everything else would be by the vendor.
Okay.
Yep, good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the site? Okay, yep, you can advance. This is the pool, the bathhouse proper, if you will. So it's where we saw it on the last plan, where it was kind of oriented north-south. That's how it will be oriented in the park. For sake of the drawing, the building is kind of now rotated 90 degrees, if you will. So the dashed lines that you see on the top and the bottom, those are those covered canopies. And we'll show you 3D images here in just a minute. So how this works is the parking lot would be on the top of the page. Folks come in, that little square right in the middle on the top is the ticketing window. And then from there, if you come in and go to the left, you would be going into the men's changing room. If you go towards the right, you can access the women's changing room, and then also access the family changing rooms, which are right in the middle of the building. And like I mentioned, each 3 of these spaces have some access to natural light through those light monitors that we saw on the roof. So folks would come in, get changed, do their thing, and then they would come out on the pool deck side. You can kind of see those 3 doors. And then we've got some deck lockers, and like I mentioned, there's that canopy on the deck side as well. The kind of the square box you see on the left side of the image, that is all the pool mechanical equipment. So there's a pump pit, there's a water service room that's coming in, there's an electrical room that serves the building, a couple chemical rooms and those sorts of things. And we've been working with your city staff to kind of make sure they understand how that plays out and how that will operate. Are you able to pan a little bit to the right? A little bit. Yeah, perfect. There we go. So off the right side of the building, said the 3 big spaces in the middle of the locker rooms. Off to the right, you can see the very, if you will, the right corner is a staff room with a big window looking out onto that pool deck. So that would be for the lifeguards. You can see there's a little table in there that would serve as their break space. We also have room for a cot if they have to do any sort of medical treatments or if a kid gets sick or something like that. And then just left of that is the concessions window out to the pool deck. So we've got that space set up. There's a 3-compartment sink in the back, and then kind of on the parking side of the building, there's a large storage room that would be in the top right corner, just for general building storage. And then the space just left of that is storage for that concession, so that they can store all those sorts of things that they would need to serve. Any questions at all on the building plan? I'm going kind of fast. Last Friday, we had a 4-hour meeting in here and went through like 75 drawings, so we spared you the technical stuff. So, yeah, go ahead. These are just some exterior images of the building, which are tough to read maybe for some folks. But if you look at the one on the bottom, that would be the front of the building, the parking lot side of the building. So you can kind of see where that kind of white line is running horizontally. That would be that canopy. The building itself will be made out of precast concrete, which is a great building material. Walls come out in 30, 40-foot sections, and they tip them up, and they have little pieces of steel that they weld to anchor those. It's really fast construction, and you can do some unique things with the finishes. So our plan is that the concrete itself would have kind of a wood texture to it. So it kind of warms it up, gives it a unique texture when the sun is hitting it and that sort of thing. And then to kind of juxtapose the concrete, those 3 light monitors that pop off the roof that you can kind of see here, and then that square right in the middle on the bottom picture is that ticketing window. Those will be wrapped with a product that's actually aluminum, but has a wood grain finish. So it's zero maintenance for 40 years, but it looks like wood, kind of warms the building up. It's a really nice contrast to the concrete. So I think it's going to be a really sharp looking facility for you. The middle drawing is the pool deck side. You can see kind of the lockers that we've got. It's kind of the bluish green components there. And then the other 2 drawings would be the short ends of the building. And you can kind of see those light monitors where they pop up and kind of a ribbon of glass on each side of those. So, next, please. So we did a couple of 3D renderings of what the building is intended to look like. Of course, these are computer-generated images, so we like to say they're pretty darn accurate, but you don't know until it's done. But you can see the kind of the patterning in the concrete, like I was mentioning. We've got some signage included in the project that would be similar to the signage on your library in terms of kind of illuminated at night, even to kind of give a nice glow. You can see how that canopy kind of works off the front there. So underneath the canopy would be where you get the ticketing and then into the locker rooms. We've got some built-in planters that kind of double as bollards and benches as well, so kids can sit on there. You can see and wait for mom and dad to pick them up or what have you. Some bike racks included in the project. And then that canopy material, you can kind of tell on this that it's a perforated metal, so it actually does let some light through, so it's not just going to be this dark space underneath. It'll be this nice diffuse daylight. Next. And then this would be the pool deck side. So again, very similar, same construction of the canopy to kind of get that diffuse shading there. And then you can see it's kind of dark, but those lockers along there. On the right, what we're seeing is the window into the concessions, and then the furthest most right is the door that does have a window in it and a big side light. That's that staff office looking out on the pool deck. And then you kind of see the 3 wood wrapped light monitors there at the top. Go ahead. And then I think this is the last one. We've been a little touchy about this one and how we share it, but this is looking out at the aquatics components themselves. We haven't selected the colors yet of the slides and that sort of thing. We've shown some options to the city and the team that's been working on this. And so this reads a little blah right now because the slides and some of those play structures don't have a bunch of fun colors on them, but we didn't want to show something that was inaccurate. So those things will be decided as the project continues, but you can certainly get a sense for what's there. So the 2 slides on the tower on the right there, like I mentioned, you see the big bucket sticking up that would dump on kids every 30 seconds or what have you. And that's on top of that kind of jungle gym with a couple smaller slides for younger kids on it. And then you can really see that shade structure on the left there that I mentioned. that's at that zero depth entry part of the pool. So like I said, the really littles can be protected from the sun, sit there all day and splash in the water and have a great time. So I think that's the last one. So love to entertain any questions you guys might have on the project. Like Brian said, we're going to be wrapping up the specs and drawings 100% here at the end of the week.
Thanks, Adam. Any questions?
One question. On this base bid, obviously, it's estimated like 9.1 million. How much do we anticipate for all the auxiliary things, like obviously the deck chairs and I mean, or should I say, is this just the construction, and then is all the other peripheral things going to be on another bid?
That's a great question. So right now, I think we had the base bid construction, I think 8.2, right, Brian? Mm-hmm. And then there's another 800,000 in alternate construction bids. So that gets you at 9.1. I think our budget, we had, I want to say, almost 430,000, Brian, of fixtures, furnishing, and equipment. So that would be like all the deck, the lounge chairs that you see, the food equipment that would go in the concessions. That would be in kind of that $430,000 placeholder that you guys would procure at the right time as the construction would progress.
Okay, thank you.
Scott?
Winter stuff, you see these canopies, they're going to be okay for winter. I mean, we're going to, we could probably get 3 feet of snow. Is that going to be?
So that's a great question. That came up recently in our last meeting. So those canopies do require some seasonal maintenance. They're not designed to be out all winter with the heavy snow loads that we get.
The canopies around the pool, I understand that those would come down, but the ones
Yeah,
sticking
ones
out
in
by the building,
Yes,
yes.
sorry, yes, absolutely. Yep, those are designed to be, yes.
Okay.
Year round, like I said, the material is actually perforated metal, so there's holes about this big. And that's a metal, and that's supported on a steel, like grid.
It'll support those.
Absolutely,
And
yep.
then the rectangular pool, will that be covered? Or is that a cement pool so it gets completely drained and just filled with snow?
Yeah, so the lap pool and the other pool, they are not covered. So the zero depth entry, that one's only 3.5 feet max
Right.
depth. So that one will get fully drained down. The lap pool has to get drained down just to a certain depth. So that might end up with a couple feet of water in at the end of the year. That can stay there. You just got to get it down past a certain point in the
Past the fills or,
in the
yeah.
system. Yep, exactly.
Thanks, Scott. Other questions? All right, we're looking for a recommendation to move to the council to accept the plans and specs for this project. We can do a motion if someone like to offer.
I'll
that.
offer
that, Your Honor.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Scott. Further questions, Scott?
I got one question. Security cameras, is there security involved in this? Because I'm sure we have to have something for liabilities. Is that, we never talked about that.
Yep, that's a great question. So we've got spots for 2 cameras actually, and the cameras that we included are at the ticketing office and at the concession. So spaces where there's money. So this the site will have an 8-foot security fence around it, and then it's illuminated at night for security reasons only. So the hours of operation of this will basically be sun up, sundown. And then at that point, there's no night swimming, that sort of thing. That takes a lot more light and what have you. In terms of your question, we recommend not to have cameras around the pools because you will open yourself up for a lot of liability if something happens, because you're not going to have somebody sitting at a screen 24/7.
Okay, that was a question I
Yep.
had to ask.
Yep, very good.
Thanks. Any other final questions? We have a motion to move this plans and specs to the council on Monday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda this morning is the redevelopment agreement, or I'm sorry, the development agreement and purchase agreement with the Flour Mill LLC, and we'll call on our community development manager, Clara Beck. Morning, Clara.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Adam. It's really exciting to see the whole project come together.
We have been working with Mr. Kevin Bartram, who is the owner of the former flour mill building here downtown Fergus Falls for a couple years now. And as you are aware, he has started some site work. He's doing some remediation stuff on site as part of his deed grant. But we have reached the point in the project where we need to enter into a development agreement with him for the TIF file. So as you recall, he has received TIF financing from the city of Fergus Falls. And then another part of the discussion with Kevin has been gap financing. He received a $200,000 loan through business development for Fergus Falls, which manages the city's loan funds. And there is still a gap that exists of about $160,000. The way that the city has discussed with Kevin filling that gap has been the purchase of the parking lot that's adjacent to the flour mill. So we've been in discussions with him for a while, and we have settled on a footprint of about 20,200 square feet, which is depicted here. But what you're going to be asked to do on Monday night, and please ask me questions and stuff this morning so that when we get to Monday night, you feel prepared. But what you'll be asked to do is take action on both of those items separately. So the development agreement as one piece of the TIF financing plan, and then the purchase agreement of the parking lot as a separate action. So you have all of the materials in your packet. The development agreement is in there, as is the purchase agreement.
Is the development agreement in the packet?
Should be, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Huh?
You don't see it? Okay, we'll make sure that you see the development agreement before Monday. Should be.
Send it out today.
But the development agreement was drafted by Rolf's office. It's a fairly standard. Well, wait, sorry, which one isn't in there? The
Purchase agreement is in.
Purchase.
is in there, but the development agreement is not. Development agreement was done by Taft. They do all of our development agreements surrounding our TIF financing. And it basically is a mirror of what's happening in the TIF plan. It just lays out the actual timeline for the development of the building itself and what the TIF financing is covering. So any questions?
Thanks, Clara.
Bill?
And I'll cover the financing side of this. So the $160,000 purchase price, when we originally presented this to you, we were looking at doing that over 5 years to the developer. And in speaking with Rolf, he said, well, that would make that a contract for deed, and it's better if we just purchase it outright so that we own it outright. So when it comes time to pave it, the city council has control over that. So we'll pay for this out of the general fund, and then I'm going to work with the tax levy committee as far as we levy back over 5 years to replenish that would be the plan. So that's the financing mechanism. We would pay cash for it and have a clean transaction at this
Thanks,
time.
thanks, Bill. Question regarding the, I know we had talked at one point about possibly including it in bids for Stanton Avenue or paving it, and there's been some discussions with the agreement with the businesses there outstate as far as paving their portion. What is where we sit with plans for improvements to that parking lot?
Yeah, Brian can maybe answer that more fully, but it is not currently part of bids going with the Stanton project.
Okay, so it's a future, it'd be a future standalone project if and when we pave that. But that's not part of this agreement, it's just a purchase of it for now.
Yep, so we'd be purchasing an unimproved lot, and it would be up to us later on down the road to do that improvement.
Okay, questions?
Just to clarify, it's the diagonal stuff, right? Clara, is that?
Yeah, what you see there.
So if we wanted to asphalt that, we'd asphalt it when he did the rest of his parking lot. I would think that would be the
we
way to
would.
do it. Okay, thank you.
But I think he's doing part of that, well, we'll
Right.
let that sit. Okay, so we
I just wanted to clarify where I can't see it very, I mean,
yeah, yep.
and it doesn't come up on my phone, so yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Sounds good. So we would look for a motion to bring these two separate items to the council for discussion and action on Monday night. Someone like to, we can do them we'll bring them together to the
I can make
council.
one of them,
Okay. Brent got the motion to, Anthony second. We can bring them to the council together, right? Everyone's all right with that? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We'll have that discussion on Monday night. Thank you, Clara. Next item of discussion is the sound system rental fee, and we'll call on Guy Taylor, our Public Works Director. Good morning, Guy.
Morning, thank you, Your Honor. As users have been renting out and using the pavilion, they've seen our sound system stored in the storage room there, and they've inquired about using it. So we feel it's appropriate to allow its use since we've got it. So we're asking the council to amend the fee schedule to include that sound system, a rental rate of $300 per event. And with that, we would only allow qualified techs to run that sound system. And we've got a list of people that we feel are qualified to do that. Michael Burgraff has suggested that rate, the $300. He says that's a fair industry standard rate. So just recommending that rental rate be added to the fee schedule.
Thanks, Guy. Question, is that for any location, or it's not specific to the Riverfront Pavilion, or it is?
It is not.
Okay,
No.
so it's just citywide, if someone wanted to rent that, because it's a portable unit, obviously, right?
Yes,
And there's a sound system that's included, mini sound system, if you will, that's included in the Riverfront that comes with basic rental, correct?
Yeah, and actually that initially was just a speaker system tied to the sound equipment, or the like a Bluetooth radio and phone kind of projection. But we recently added a wireless mic to it, so we can.
People can use. And that's included, that's included in the basic rental for the pavilion?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking for recommendation to the council.
I'll make that, and I've got a question as well.
Okay, we got a
I'll
motion.
second it.
Second? Okay, go ahead, Anthony.
On that, on the Riverfront Square, when I walked past it this morning, there's somebody smoking in it. Is there other? I didn't really look to see whether there was any no smoking signs on
There
it.
are not.
Is it something we should or shouldn't have? I don't know.
So,
I wouldn't be opposed. There are so many cigarette butts over there.
Yeah, I mean it's city property.
Right.
I mean we don't allow smoking in this building. And it's a public space, so I would like them maybe staff do some research or something on that and come back.
we can bring that on.
But
back.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it being a non-smoking area. We've got a lot of money invested in it.
One thing I didn't note, sorry,
Yeah, please.
the fee to the technician would be paid would be just a separate deal between the user and the tech. We wouldn't have that fee run through the city at all.
And is there some sort of qualification that, not to open up a can of worms, but some sort of obviously,
City-approved list of,
city approval?
of
list?
operators,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we have a motion to bring this to the council on Monday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Guy. Guy's up again with refuse truck purchase.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, as we have issues with delivery of vehicles, we're actually planning for a 2024 purchase. This would be a regular one-arm truck, similar to the ones, or exactly like the ones that we've got in service right now. Just planning ahead for a 2024 purchase. Price would be $342,112.80 minus a $55,000 trade-in. Brings a total purchase price of $287,112.80. That would come from the equipment fund, and of course, that budget's not set, but we would make sure to have that plan for purchase included in that plan for that year.
Thanks, guys. Someone like to,
I'd like to offer it, and I got a question.
thanks, Scott. Someone second?
Second.
Tom, go ahead, Scott.
As you and I talked earlier this week about keeping that truck, the trade-in for a spare, because of the problems we've been having with these things, and I think it would be a good idea. It's going to be worth $55,000 for quite a while. I think it'd be a good idea to have it stored, so when we have this truck go down, we can keep going. As you know, the last couple weeks we've been dealing with this thing, and it takes forever to get parts, and I think it's just a good idea and if it doesn't get used in the first year or something, then I'm sure we can get rid of it for the $55,000. I just think it's a good idea to keep it as a total truck, not a parts truck, but just a total complete unit.
With the 2023 purchase that is on order, hopefully it'll be delivered in August, September. Council did authorize us to keep that truck that would have been traded, so we'll have that one back up. Right now, the scenario we're in hasn't happened before where we've had two trucks down for few days on end. So I don't know how necessary it is. I think one backup would be sufficient. A couple other things is real estate, storage area.
That was going to be my
That's
next
gonna be
question.
a-
Is there a place to store it?
Yeah, it would have to be outside, probably at the landfill.
Okay.
And then 55,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money, really, but when it comes to other equipment, mowers, another pickup, another squad car, that would cover.
So is there one better than the other of the two?
Oh, yeah, and we would make sure we keep
Okay.
the best.
Thanks. We have a motion. Bring this for consideration to the council on Monday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. Next up is, again, Guy Taylor with a discussion on a chicken permit amendment.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, we've had a request to amend the chicken ordinance due to the quail being the same kind of use as chickens. The eggs are a delicacy. They're good in protein and all that. So we'd just like to amend the chicken ordinance, the chicken permitting ordinance, to allow for quail, same number of quail, and the process for permitting would be identical as the chicken permit. So what I provided in the packet with dash quail, inserted, every time chickens are mentioned in the ordinance, we would just not do that. We would just put in the definition what a quail is and allow chicken and quail to be covered under that complete ordinance. That was a recommendation from Rolf. Correct.
Thanks, Guy. And we can do this, we can bring this to the council through a motion.
You can make that, and I got a question.
Yeah, I have a question too.
Currently, sorry,
Do they crow?
they aren't loud, no.
Are these like domesticated where their wings are clipped? Because quail fly like more than chickens.
They would have to stay in their coop or a enclosed run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was mine, was noise and taking off.
Okay.
So,
Well, I assume they've got these things
Then Kyle's got another.
yeah.
covered, but
Yeah, with that permitting process, the adjoining neighbors have to
Yeah.
consent to allowing them, so.
yeah.
And right now, our ordinance sets the limit of 20 permits annually throughout the city. And I don't think, okay, 10.
Okay, thanks,
Got
Lynn. Thanks,
capacity.
Guy. All right, we have a motion to bring this to the council on Monday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Guy. Next up is a City Code 154.038 amendments. And again, we'll call on Andrew Bremseth. Clara. See you later, Andrew. All right, we'll call on Community Development Manager Clara Beck once again.
Hello. Yeah, I thought Andrew was going to take this one. So we have been in discussions at previous council meetings regarding a conditional use permit for a downtown business who wanted to also branch into manufacturing, also in a downtown location, of hemp-derived THC edibles, which are currently legal. And that CUP process raised some questions about what we have in our zoning code regarding manufacturing in downtown areas, and then I think specifically about shared kitchen spaces. So this is a time for you guys to talk a little bit about what you would like to see in the city code regarding CUPs for manufacturing in downtown areas. And then more broadly, if you have more discussion about the code that is currently in place for hemp-derived THC edibles.
Thanks, Clara.
I think, my issue was as much the shared kitchen space. And I think in premises where there's going to be under 21 people there on a regular basis. So I think I don't have an issue in, if kind of Sugar High wanted to manufacture it in their physical premise and sell it in their premise, I think that is fine. But in a premise where you're going to have under 21s and a shared kitchen space where you're going to get contamination, because even in the state literature they talk about contamination of product. So I think for me that would be the manufacturing downtown isn't an issue. It's just where it is.
So maybe amending code to state no shared kitchens.
Yeah, and no manufacturing where there's persons under the 21 years of age on a regular basis. I think we were impacting two other businesses, that, and opening them up to some liabilities.
Are they manufacturing in their facilities, No, the reason I'm asking this, because there's a couple machines out there, and I've seen one. It's a pretty good-sized one, and I don't know if, Kyle, have you seen these machines that make hemp processing machines? There's one in the area. And it's a rather large machine, and it's kind of noisy. And so I just don't know if we should have manufacturing in the business area, period. Just move to the industrial park, which would be a good spot, I think, for them. Because some people do just a small area, but some of them can bring a machine in and do it. So it's just kind of like a question. I think we should talk about that too, because and I could get some more information about this machine that I know about. I haven't talked to the guy yet, but to see how noisy it is and how big it is, and because it would be legal to put that in town in the business district. So
Well, it'd still be, oh, sorry.
it would still be. I mean, it's manufacturing. That's what it is. It's taking hemp or using the hemp, and it's processing it. So going from a little tabletop thing to and I don't know how big it is. I can't remember. Kyle, have you seen it? I don't.
I think you have to be mindful of the definition of manufacturing. So I think in one person's mind, she might be making products, what we consider manufacturing. Scott is referring to, I would call industrial manufacturing.
Right.
So I think it goes to defining what manufacturing is and what's allowed and what isn't.
Right, and I'm not against either one of them. I'm just trying to talk about the parameters, what we're going to do with this within the city. So,
Well, it seems like they would be subject to noise ordinance probably too.
but,
So that-
and you're right. But I'm gonna Monday night I'll have a lot more better definition of it. I'm gonna go look at the thing myself. So,
One thing that I would bring up, having worked in the kitchens that have been under consideration and having control and ownership over them and seeing different products manufactured there, it seems to me like a lot of these issues could be dealt with just some controls over what's stored in the facilities. If we're talking about contamination, we probably have a lot bigger problems than simply THC. If we're talking about cross-contamination, we've got cleanliness and other issues that the Department of Health and the state regulates. So it seems to me like because you have alcohol used in cooking, you have alcohol, people under the age of 18 serving, or under 21 able to serve, and in the kitchens where alcohol is used. And there's all kinds of areas where I think that with some simple consideration, and again, this is for discussion, right? But I think if you had storage, I think storage is the main thing for me. Like where access, if people are using a product that's legal, and if they're storing it and not having it open so that others can walk in and access this product, you would be able to address these issues. But if we're going to not allow shared kitchens at all, I guess it kind of takes that out of consideration too. Jim?
I don't think that this is an issue that we can settle here right today. I think this is something that we need a work session, where we can get all the information out and not just run something by the seat of our pants. We need to really look into it and do it right.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good idea. I think we're just kind of throwing some ideas out, right, for that you could come back with something we can further discuss that out. I think Jim's point is we're going at a work session, maybe to dive a little deeper. Tom?
I love to play devil's advocate, and I just can't help myself. Mr. Rachels had brought up the topic of noise. Have you heard the printing press at Victor Lundine's?
Oh, I'm not. Don't get me wrong.
I know.
I know all about
Just
what you're saying.
Making sure we're looking at the whole picture here.
No, I understand completely, but it's just if we're going to start having this, and I'm going to go look at this thing and see what the process is. If we put that downtown, I mean, it's like,
Scott?
One of the aspects of this that you can add to topics to look into would be code enforcement. When we've got a store downtown, part of our question is, who do we restrict access to, as you'd mentioned, and how do we track that during business hours and whatnot? It's up to us currently at the city level to do code enforcement. And that has to do with who can go in and who can't. But if you go into a manufacturing facility for anybody can come and go, that's, is that up to us? I mean, are we also going to be responsible for inspecting who's working there and doing background checks and all the stuff that goes into what we would do in a retail space in the manufacturing space? I mean, you've got the same stuff in there, the same risks associated in many ways. And so then does that fall on us as well, that we've got to periodically just drop in and see who's hanging around in there? That opens up a whole nother ball of questions.
Tom?
I guess in response to that, one general point that I've made and I would make again is that I think whatever we do for THC manufacturing, we also would have to do for a brewery or a distillery. I mean, they're mind-altering substances, both alcohol and THC, and I don't know why we need to pick on one versus the other. It's just kind of my general point.
And then with the new laws coming in and them taking away a lot of our rights to regulate, I understand even the state says you have to be 21 to purchase, but we put in the ordinance that you have to be 21 even to be in the building. Are we going to be able to even enforce that? Because personally, I'd like to see, either in an industrial area if they're going to manufacture it, or if they're going to do it in town, then do it on their facility.
Thanks, Brent.
I guess I would like to maybe refer to Chief Berggren to, get a lot of suggestion from that end of it, maybe during that work session, if that would be part of it, because he's probably the most versed in it and his office than maybe anybody is. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. We'll definitely send you an invite to that, Chief.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you some more work, Kyle. We'll talk later.
No, of course. Yeah, Jim.
I think as far as regulations go, I think city can regulate tougher than state.
It's weird because I went to.
I believe they can do that.
Not on this one.
Not on this one?
No,
Nope.
Okay.
no, they took a lot
They're
of
gonna-
the authority out of our hands.
Okay.
St. Paul's going to be taking everything away from us. That's
All right.
it's all going to be done down there.
So we have some things for consideration, and we can bring back, and we'll make sure to invite the chief.
You haven't
Thanks.
got enough to do anyway. So.
Thanks. Speaking of the chief, we've got a couple new business items. So, Chief of Public Safety, Kyle Bergen, we've got a BCA Joint Powers Agreement to start off with.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. This is just kind of more of a housekeeping item. We've been in an agreement, had a joint powers agreement with the BCA for a number of years. It has expired. We have a very talented young man in our investigative division that just recently went to training. And in order for us to get reimbursed from the state, we have to ensure that the joint powers agreement is up to date. So before you is a copy of an agreement that we've been in with the state for years, and again, it's just to make that up to date. So that's what's before you there.
Thanks, Chief. We can bring this to the council for approval on Monday night. Scott?
For that.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Second. Any questions for Chief Bergeron? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next item is a mental health co-response social work with the county.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. And again, I see Commissioner Rognes is here today as well. But I know that the tax levy committee, I think, is meeting later today as well. And some of the discussion about mental illness was brought up during their last meeting. So I wanted to get this to you in a timely manner. But we reached out to the county back in January to discuss what we call a co-responder approach to dealing with mental illness, not only within the city of Fergus Falls, but countywide. And essentially, it's very much a team approach where law enforcement and social work staff go out into the communities and try to deal with some of the issues pertaining to mental illness. We had an opportunity just yesterday to talk to the county board regarding this, and they seemed very receptive to this idea. So today, basically what I'm asking for is just a resolution of support. I think that this is probably one of the biggest needs socially within our community. Not just ours, again, it's countywide, it's statewide. As I explained yesterday to the county board, huge gap was left unfilled with the closure of the state hospital. And the state has basically kind of walked away, and it's really kind of fallen on law enforcement over the years, and we're really not the right, we can help people that are in immediate crisis and get them to a facility. The problem is there are no more facilities to take them to. And so we're just looking at a kind of a first step, better approach to try to help some of these people with their mental health needs. And again, the cost to us for the social worker, there would be none for the city that would be incurred by the county. There's a cost to us as a police department. We'll just work within our normal budget. We will assign a person, it won't be their full-time job, but a portion of their duties will to be on this mental health team and go out and do these evaluations. So that's what's before you, is just a resolution of support for this concept and this pilot project.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks for your work on this, and thanks for the hopefully eventual partnership with the county and to address this needs. Thanks again for.
I'll offer it.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Brent. Questions for Chief Bergeron? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And that's all we have this morning.
There's just one thing that could we bring up. At the Planning Commission on Monday night, the farmers market apparently has been struggling to try to come to some terms on getting some additional signage to indicate that the farmers market is down there. Obviously, one or two of them are upset because they feel they were forced to come downtown and now they can't put their signage. And I wonder if on Monday night we can kind of just see what we need to do to smooth over the relationship.
Sure.
If we can also get that letter sent out to us. Perfect.
Yep. So apparently they wrote a letter and it's been sort of hung up in cyberspace.
Okay. So we'll bring that, we'll put that on the agenda for Monday night.
Well, and just to be clear, Your Honor, the code will have to be changed, so staff doesn't have the latitude to allow them to do what they want to do. And we've been in discussions trying to provide alternate locations. We've allowed this sign non-compliant for several years. And with the just insurgence of requests and non-compliant signs, it's like we have to either change our code or start to do a better job of uniformly enforcing that. So I think it's a good conversation to have, but I caution the council that there'll likely be code changes involved with that. So it'll be a little bit of a process.
And the Planning Commission is actually reviewing the signage code language. and maybe that's something that.
And they received the letter, and they, because it's to the Planning Commission, they've discussed the letter. And we have not received any further outreach from the farmers market.
So do you want to start at the Planning Commission level, or do you want the council to discuss?
I think it would be good if we could at least see the letter.
Yeah, we can
see what the content was. And then I would also think if we're going to review the signage ordinance, not to put Mr. Kwame on the spot, but he is a signage kind of like expert. And maybe that's something that, we should kind of encourage involvement with somebody that understands signs.
But yeah, I don't disagree. But if the Planning Commission is, let's let them, let's find a way that we can have a discussion if we need to, but allow them to do their work.
Yep.
So we'll share the letter,
Assuming it's timely.
so you guys are all aware of the conversation, and then we'll let the planning commission bring to the council how they want to resolve that issue with the code changes, and then we'll work it through our process
Yep.
here.
Yep.
We won't see anything on Monday night, but we'll let
We'll get
that
the letter
process
and
play
then-
out. Yep.
Planning commission meets before our July, first meeting in July, correct?
No, they've already,
Or
they met on Monday.
second meeting
Yeah.
in July. Okay.
Thir- Well,
Al,
Third
just-
month.
Just
We meet the
also
fourth
to
month.
relating to signage, I was contacted by a resident of Third Ward about some of the signs in the parks. And I haven't been to all the parks. We just met at Broadway Park. And it had to do with, it's kind of faded out. It was, to report suspicious activity, to call the number. It's actually dispatch for phone number, but also too, and I didn't look at the other entrances, kind of hours, because I know there's, things go on in parks after hours and things like that. I think the concern was there's some, kind of look at that signage for the parks and maybe have even, it was a great point that was brought up too by that individual was even, it's 998-8555 was the number. Now we got to dial the 218 before that. It's as simple as that. And that one was pretty faded out and it was getting hard to read too. But maybe we should kind of look at some of those signs throughout the city parks. If we can put in some, if we need to add times and the different entrances to the parks. So if we could maybe look at that too, that would be great.
Sounds great. We can do that.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Al. Anything else? Yes, Lynn.
Other than the THC issue, is there anything that you do not want on the consent agenda for Monday night? Unless you really want a long meeting the night before the 4th of July. That's up to you.
Will there be a quorum?
Is everything
I think we're good, yeah.
I
think we're good.
Scott.
I think that because of the size of the project, having the aquatic center stand alone would probably be a good thing. I don't think that should be on the consent agenda.
And give the public a chance to see that. Those nice slides again, all 74 of them maybe.